garbage, trash, bad. These words are not only used to describe my middle school flirting game, but also Magic the Gathering cards. The kind that don't always get the love they deserve. Maybe they're overcosted. Maybe they're underwhelming. Maybe they don't perform under pressure. But here at the Jank Center, we think that is just a crying shame. We believe every card can shine given the right context, and that's why today we'll be finding 5 homes for 5 janky cards. We'll be taking an ugly caterpillar from the bulk bin and pairing it with a commander that will allow it to blossom into a beautiful butterfly. But before we get into that, I just have to let you know that this video is brought to you by the EDH Jank Center, your EDH safe space and home for everything commander and everything jank. And I'm your host, Jordan. Now let's dive in. Our first card up today is Mind Unbound. For blue enchantment from Magic 2012, it says at the beginning of your upkeep, put a lore counter on Mind Unbound. Then draw a card for each lore counter on Mind Unbound. So I really enjoy this card's effect, and I would actually venture to say that most commander players would say the same. The only thing getting in the way of this being a format mainstay is the mana cost. This thing needs to come down early to really be game breaking, and the fact is that there are just better ways to draw cards now in the format. However, I think we can maximize its utility in Tekuthal, Inquiry Dominus. 2 blue legendary creature, Phyrexian Horror. From Phyrexia, all will be 1. It has flying, and if you would proliferate twice instead. And it has an activated ability. You can pay 1 and 2 Phyrexian mana to remove 3 counters from among other artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers you control to put an indestructible counter on Tekuthal, Inquiry Dominus. Phyrexian mana can be paid with either blue or 2 life, and it's a 3/5 BBG. So this, I think, is a perfect fit for Mind Unbound. Since Mind Unbound puts lore counters on itself, we can then target them with proliferate abilities, folks. And then with our general out, we'll be able to double up on all our proliferate triggers, vastly increasing the number of cards we draw at the beginning of our upkeep. This can help catch us up if we're behind in the game, or help turbo us into the mid to late game win. All right, now let's look at another blue card. It's Release to the Wind. 2 and a blue instant from Rivals of Ixalan. It says, exile target non-land permanent. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may cast it without paying its mana cost. I understand why people would be not running this card, man. It's a feels bad to know that at most we are exiling something until someone's next turn. At face value, I really do think there are just so many better removal spells, but brother, do you really think that's gonna stop us? No, because guess what? We have found the perfect home for this little thing. And that home is Lavinia Azorius Renegade. White and a blue legendary creature human soldier from Ravnica Allegiance. It says, each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with mana value greater than the number of lands that player controls. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell, and it's a 2/2. Now, if you're astute, I think you can see where I'm going to go with this already. Lavinia's last ability ices any free spells our opponents cast, effectively shutting off scowy things such as Omniscience and the like. And since Release to the Wind makes it so that our opponent can cast the thing we exile for free, having Lavinia out makes it so that they, cannot. Is it rude? 100%. Would I personally run it? Probably not. Resource denial and such moves aren't usually my go-to vibe, but I do think this is a really fun little spot for this little bulk rare from the OG Ixalan block. Every card has a home, my sweet babies. Do not give up. Just like we have not given up on this next card, which is Thundermare. 5 and a red creature, Thundermare from 9th edition. It has haste, and when Thundermare comes into play, tap all other creatures, and it's a 5/5. This is also a card that feels really good until you reread it, and it says to also tap all of your creatures when it comes in. This sucks because we can't use this as a finisher, since it nerfs our board in addition to the others. And then on top of that, when we play it, we are going to be the last people to get to untap our creatures, effectively leaving us wide open for attacks from the other 3 players at the table. Unfortunate, but something we can work with if we throw it into Ilarg the Razeboar. 3 red legendary creature boar god from War of the Spark. It has trample, and whenever Ilarg the Razeboar attacks, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking. Return that creature to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. When Ilarg the Razeboar dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into its owner's library, 3rd from the top, and it's a 6/6. Pretty simple, but very fun tech here. Since Ilarg triggers on attack, all of our attacking creatures will already have been tapped, since we must declare attacks first, then let any attack triggers go on the stack and resolve. Meaning that when Thundermare enters from Ilarg's ability, all of our creatures are already tapped and attacking, making Thundermare a finisher of opponents after all. I think this would be the most satisfying Jank Alpha Strike win con ever, dude. And the fact that Ilarg returns it to hand makes it repeatable, and I am always geeked when I can get repeatable value out of an underloved little guy. And up next, we got Caelorna Coral Tyrant, 1 in a blue legendary creature octopus from Aether Drift, and it's literally just a 0/8. A commander in her own right, Caelorna is a member of the BBG, Big Butt Gang for the uninitiated, but that's about all she's got going for her, which is okay. We could obviously go with an inclusion in some kind of Toughness Matters build, but I wanted to go in a slightly different direction because I am not like other girls. And with that in mind, we are going to go with Geralf Visionary Stitcher, 2 in a blue legendary creature, human wizard from Innistrad Crimson Vow. It says zombies you control have flying, and pay a blue and tap, sacrifice another non-token creature, create an XX blue zombie creature token where X is the sacrificed creature's toughness, and it's a 1/4, also a member, albeit smaller, of the BBG. So instead of keeping this BBG octopus on the field, we are going to try and play Caelorna early and then sacrifice it to Geralf's ability and get a beefy 8/8 flying zombie out of the deal. I love this tech because we can get this going pretty early in the game and get in for some serious damage early on, and if we can find a way to recur Caelorna and sack it a few more times, then we are really cooking, brother. And we are already at our last janky selection of the day, which is Giant Ox, 1 in a white creature ox from Kaldheim. It says Giant Ox crews vehicles using its toughness rather than its power, and it's a 0/6. What do you know? Another BBG? I don't know, and maybe I'll hear it from you guys in the comments, but I don't know that this card is necessarily janky, but it is quite narrow in its applications, which I believe qualifies it to just sit around in bulk piles everywhere. So I am here to help alleviate that pile from getting too large to handle. Obviously, we can use this in vehicle-based builds, but again, I'm actually thinking we do something different with it, which is a Toughness Matters inclusion in Betor, Kin to All, 2 in Abzan, which is a white, black, green legendary creature, spirit dragon from Tarkir Dragonstorm. It says flying, and at the beginning of your end step, if creatures you control have total toughness 10 or greater, draw a card. Then, if creatures you control have toughness 20 or greater, untap each creature you control. Then, if creatures you control have total toughness 40 or greater, each opponent loses half their life, rounded up. And what do you know? A BBG member. It's a 5/7. Pretty simple tech here, kiddos. For 2 mana, we get an Ox, which is always great flavor, but then also we get 6 toughness added to the count for Betor's ability, dude. Meaning, if we just have Betor and the Ox out on the field, we are already meeting the first clause of Betor's ability. Play the Ox on turn 2, and then cast a creature on 3 and 4, and you might even be able to get Betor's second ability the turn it comes in, which would be so juicy. All right, and just like that, we have made it to the end of this week's video, kiddos. What are some cards I should cover next? What cards would you pair with these janky boys? Did I miss anything? I'm always down there in the comments, so come on down and have a chat with me. And hey, if you'd like to join the EDH Jank Center Discord community, watch these videos a day early, submit cards for the patron selections, and play spell table games with me and other patrons every month, consider signing up for the Patreon in the description below. We've got a beautiful Discord community and affordable entry points, so come on in and get janked. And hey, if you don't have the funds for monetary support, that's totally chill. You can just like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell for more Commander stuff and more jank. All right, guys, that's it for me. I'll see you on the next video, and don't forget, the spirit of the format is the gathering.